high levels of poverty,
unemployment,
stigma and discrimination,
gender-based violence,
sexual harassment,
early marriages and pregnancies,
drug abuse,
leadership and governance.
These are some of the pressing issues affecting our communities.
Raise your voice and speak up because you are the solution.
And by working together, we can create locally driven solutions that can transform our society and the world. Be a voice of change today.
Impact Show, the voice of change.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Impact Show, and I'm your host, Chima Mulimba. We'll be talking about a very interesting topic today with one of the youths who represented us at the COP28, and I'll give him the opportunity to introduce himself to us. Good morning, and how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Chuma. Good morning to all our dear viewers out there.
Yeah, can you please introduce us? Can you please introduce yourself to us?
My name is Levy, Livingston-based youth advocate. I'm a children's rights advocate as well as an environmentalist. Basically, that sums up much of what I do, much of advocacy and being, promoting environmental sustainability for this current and the future generations.
So, what organization are you representing today?
Well, I think I've branded it well. I'm wearing an Environment Africa t-shirt as well as a cape. So I come from an organization called Environment Africa, and Environment Africa has got a group of young people that come together and wherever they have their offices. So here in Livingston, we have what we call the Livingston Youth Network, which is extended as well in Solwezi, Kabwe, as well as the upcoming ones in Zimba and Kazungula.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talking about the COP28, how did you find yourself there?
Well, it was quite an amazing thing that happened. Environment Africa is one of the core values and objective of Environment Africa is to enhance youth participation in decision making. And COP28 is one of the formulas that they are using to make sure that they are meeting their goal. So even within the board of Environment Africa, they have got a youth representative. So it has been, part of their objective always to make sure that youths are participating in decision-making processes. So as a way of enhancing that, COP28 was a way of making sure that there was youth representation from the organization and from the youth network at large as well. So I would say I was privileged, if I may say so, because I'm really not the smartest, within the group.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got other young people that are doing the most, but then it was a chance, a privilege that was provided to me, and I'm so glad and grateful for it.
That's so interesting. So I'm talking about COP28. Most of us have just been hearing about it, seeing it on social media.
Yeah.
Can you please give more insights to our viewers on what COP28 is all about?
COP28, as it suggests, most people call it COP, which is the Conference of Parties. It's an annual climate summit that takes part every year, with different venues every year. For example, last year it was in Egypt. It was the first one that was ever, held in Africa.
Yeah.
That's why it was known as the African COP. It was quite amazing, But it takes part every year, and parties, nations, CSOs, stakeholders come together to see how best they can curb or mitigate the issue of climate change. So we have negotiations going on, funders coming in to see how best we can curb the issue of climate change, as we know that climate change is not really just something of the Western world or the global north, but it's something that is affecting everyone. And so parties come together to discuss this, negotiate possible reductions on things that people are overexploiting in order for us to help mitigate or possibly reduce climate change. So that basically sums up what COP28 is all about. So 28 signifies the number, so next year it will be COP29 and it will be going just like that.
Okay. So what are some of the aims or outcomes the conference was aimed to see or is aimed to attain?
Well, I love that question because COP28 was held in United Arab Emirates, specifically in Dubai. And as we know, the Middle East is so rich in terms of fossil fuels, and one of the objectives of the COP28 was to reduce fossil fuels, and we are able to come to an agreement in that area as well. But it was so interesting, more especially Zambia is also trying to join the journey of exporting and importing fossil fuels as a way of promoting the economic status of Zambia. But then at the COP28, it was agreed that there has to be, the reduction of that as well. So it has basically different thematic areas of how you can best focus. During the whole sessions, we have what we call negotiations, where a proposal is brought across. Say, for example, we want to reduce fossil fuels, which was one of the major subjects at the past COP28. And we have negotiations, how best can we mitigate this? We have funding coming in, private institutes, governments, filing in or proposing how much they are willing to give in that particular moment. So reducing fossil fuels, for me, was one of the major event for me, or one of the major objectives of COP28. But away from that, I feel also this COP28, or I think in the past 5 years, we can see something that is very, very massive, and that is youth participation. Zambia was the chair of the AGN during the negotiations this time, and during the last 2 days of the negotiations, you won't believe that we had children from Zambia helping chair the negotiations, which was really, really a major thing for us as young people, especially as a youth advocate, since something that we have been trying to talk about all the time in the past, and even continuously to do so. But to see action being taken about it, it's something that was really, really quite impressive. Away from that, I was also privileged to share the podium with government officials, the UNDP representative, as well as the UNICEF representative, to talk about how best can we enhance youth participation. So for me, I feel much of the objectives were met in these two thematic areas, amongst other areas that were discussed about or talked about during the COP28.
So talking about fossil fuels, are you seeing any future on the impact of the negotiations you made starting 2024?
Well, I can say it's a 50-50 thing. The good part about COP is that a report is shared, and then also countries are given a task to report back on how much they have done on what was agreed upon. And then there are certain steps that can be taken for countries that are not doing the necessary thing. It goes back in connection to the Paris Treaty as well, that was agreed, and the climate summit, where countries commit, and then after their commitment, before the year ends, you go back and say, okay, maybe this is the period that we said we want to accomplish this task or this objective that we have set for us as parties. So we are coming back. What have you done concerning this? At what level are you at as far as the agreement is concerned? So I can say it's a 50-50 thing, because we have countries that majorly depend on fossil fuels for their economic development. Yeah, and then we have also countries, like I stated earlier, Zambia, trying to engage or take up that space as well to develop the economic status of the country. But at the same time, it's something that is being restrained at the moment. So I think it's a 50-50, and the reports will show how best it's going on.
That's interesting. How do you think the conference will help global efforts to fight or advocate for climate change?
For me, conferences or summits like COP28 simply signifies the unified voices of advocates, where they're given a platform or a privilege to air out or to present what they've been trying to talk about all this while. And COP28 opens up a lot of things. For example, I have a friend from Zimbabwe. She has been advocating for climate change. And during COP28, she was given the chance to pitch a project. And as we are talking here, she'll be doing a pilot project in Dubai before she can come and implement it in Zimbabwe. So it's a platform that is given to young people, and it also acts as a wake-up call. I feel for me, my experience here really changed my perspective about how advocacy can be done, and how much of space as young people we can occupy. So it's really a booster, not just for me, but for young people as well, or those who have participated either on site or online. And it really changes the dynamic or the face of advocacy for young people. Similarly, I can look at COP28, more especially that we are going to come to a decision where the input of young people was involved. I feel it gives young people a sense of responsibility and a sense of impact that they are making. I can compare it to the general comment number 26 that talks about specifically the rights of children to a healthy environment as a human right. And I feel it really encourages and boosts the morale of young advocates to keep on going and to continue doing what they're doing. Yeah.
So talking about the conference, obviously there were a lot of people talking there. You heard from a lot of people and you spoke to a lot of people. Were there any speeches that stood out for you?
Well, quite a few. So just a bit of a background. When I was traveling, I traveled as a youth Zambian delegate, and for that I was given the privilege to be amongst the stakeholders. And the stakeholders were in two zones. There was the blue zone and the green zone, whereas the green zone was just all about innovation, where people get to showcase what they're doing for their various countries. And wow, you might really feel you're doing nothing if you get that view, But then being at a space of stakeholders, I really got to engage with a lot of people. And what was standing out for me, number one, like I said, was my experience with my friend from Zimbabwe, where she had the privilege of pinching what she was, advocating for all these years to be funded. The other one as well, we had an innovator from Zambia as well, was given quite a lot of money just to push through their innovation. I think that really stood out for me. What stood out for me as well was the youth involvement and the youth participation, especially even with the young people, where young people got to co-chair the AGN in the climate change negotiations as well. And we had young people participating in the negotiations as well, inputting amongst other things. And then also we had what I can call partners of Environment Africa as well, like Save the Children, Charities Home, having representatives in those spaces as well. Meaning the collaborations are not just locally here in Zambia, but they're at a global scale. And we really saw that young people are taking up the spaces as well. There was so much, energy and enthusiasm coming from the young people especially. We had young people advocate in the streets during COP28. And we're like, I thought we were just here to have meetings, but what, So that was standing out. And then also at the time to look at the speech done by His Excellency, our President. It was quite amazing. I think it was just a complementary to what he has already been saying in terms of climate change and moving to green economy as a nation, what he has been talking about all along. And to see, Zambia being represented there, I think those are just some few of the things that stood out for me. If I can talk about all of them, I think we might need a day or so.
Time is not really on our side. So in your opinion, what do you think were the most faced challenges at COP28?
Well, okay, I'll respond to that question as a youth advocate.
Yes.
I think even during our plenary discussion with the government officials, UNDP and UNICEF, as young people, we are bringing out the point of saying that we need youth participation, but also can there be a reduction on the tedious procedures that it takes for an individual to be part of a system or to be part of something. I gave a good example of COP28.
Yes.
We have a lot of young activists, young advocates in Livingstone and in Zambia at large, but very few knew about it. And even though you know about it, but then do you have the right channels? Do you know the right procedures to take if you want to participate in such kind of events? And this is why, by the power of social media, we get to learn about events, but we only know about those events when they're taking part and not necessarily when, you know, how best we can be part of that whole procedure. I think that was really the first challenge that I could highlight.
Okay.
I feel even for myself, provided I was not part of an organization like Environment Africa,
Yes,
I feel it was going to be difficult for me to participate in you know, at the COP28. And I feel the challenge has to be addressed in a way that young people are provided the chance and the opportunity to participate without, you know, having to have necessary affiliations, if I might say so. Not everyone might have the privilege to be under Environment Africa,
Yes,
but can they still be offered a chance to participate at meetings or summits like COP28? You know, I feel that was really the major challenge, as well as I feel preparations were also a challenge for me. Yeah, whereas I felt like I could have done more while I was there.
Yeah.
Could have really held, you know, sat on different podiums to talk about advocacy among other things, or more especially with the work that we are doing. As I felt there was more that could be done, but we take that up as a learning point. Yeah.
So, talking about Environment Africa, what role did it play in the discussions at COP28?
Well, I sat on the panel, so I am representing Environment Africa.
Yes.
Yeah, but also from Environment Africa, I did not travel alone.
Okay.
Yeah, I traveled also with an officer from the Zimba office. Yeah, I also sat down on a podium to discuss. She works under a project called Save the Children, which is one of the partners with Environment Africa. And she sat down on the podium to talk about children's rights and how best children can be involved at all costs in those ways. So Environment Africa played a major role, number one, in sending representatives. Yeah, of course they couldn't send a lot of people,
Yes.
but you know, me representing the voices of young people, and also her representing on behalf of other, you know, complementing the other projects that Environment Africa is already doing, but standing in the gap as a voice for young people. Yeah, I think that's really a major role. Most of the times, events like this, participants usually, you know, coming from government offices or government affiliation, but for an NGO to take up such kind of a space and provide an opportunity, I feel that's not something that you can undermine at any point. Yeah.
So, still talking about Environment Africa, recently this year we saw the Trash for Cash.
Yeah.
Is that one of the innovative ways to fight climate change, and what is it about?
Wow, yeah. So Trash for Cash basically is a social entrepreneurship project that focuses on environmental sustainability as well as making money at the same time. Yeah, so Trash for Cash is a project that is being run here in Livingstone by 11 youths. Yeah, a team of, you know, brilliant young people. And of course, you know, the project is an innovation, but at the same time it's an intervention. Yeah, the project was first started in 2021, of course, but then we just had the official launch this year because that's where we had you know, our own site where we can process everything by ourselves. So before the start of the project, a feasibility study was conducted, and the stats are staggering, Chuma. Every year, every day, Livingstone produces about 90 tons of solid waste.
Wow.
Yeah, and not more than half of that is you know, well managed. And so waste management has been an issue here in Livingstone.
Yes.
And so many people resort to burning or burying or just disposing it off in open spaces. So the project is coming in as an intervention where people, we incentivize the waste that people are producing on a daily basis. So instead of just throwing away garbage anyhow, you get to sell to us. So in other words, that's why it's called Trash for Cash, the beauty of waste. Yeah, so the project was officially launched on the 3rd of November, where we had our partners and funders, Steredes Homes representatives all the way from Germany came through, DAXA Logistics Chairman, Mr. Zimoni, as well as representatives as well. And we had the Livingston City Council, as well as the mayor gracing the event as our guest of honor. So the project also works hand in hand with the Livingston City Council, where we have an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding with the Livingston City Council. We are also in some way complementing the efforts that the council is already doing. I'm sure we can see, the limitation at some point, maybe beyond the capacity of the Livingston City Council, and the project comes in as, as an assistance in some way. And the project is still on. The project is still going on, and it's something that is very important, especially to us young people that are participating in it.
Yes.
Seeing that it's something that we have been talking about for quite some time. So the inception of the project, or how the project started, it started first in 2018, where we had an exchange program between the Zambian youths and the German youths. And after the youths in Zambia traveled to Germany, saw how the Germans are best implementing or managing their waste, and we thought we can do this in Zambia as well. But away from that, we said, can we incentivize, can we make money out of it at the same time? And then here we are, Trash for Cash, the beauty of waste.
That's quite interesting, Mr. Moana, but unfortunately time is not by our side. So do you have any last words to our viewers with the beauty of trash we've talked about? Do you have any last words for our viewers?
Well, to our dear viewers, I hope that majority of you are the young people. What I would say is that there's so much space that we need to occupy as young people. There's so much work that we need to do as young people. This is our time. Tomorrow is too late. And like Martin Luther King said, that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So if you're not doing something, that's injustice in some way. And I really hope we can wake up as young people and do the needful without even having to be reminded in any way.
So, dear viewers, we've heard from our COP28 representative. I hope we've learned something on the importance of our environment. Join us next time, and thank you for watching.
High levels of poverty,
Unemployment,
stigma and discrimination,
gender-based violence,
sexual harassment,
early marriages and pregnancies,
drug abuse.
leadership and governance.
These are some of the pressing issues affecting our communities.
Raise your voice and speak up because you are the solution.
And by working together, we can create locally driven solutions that can transform our society and the world. Be a voice of change today.
Impact Show, the voice of change.